The 24 years old black maid fulfilled the 82 years old billionaire last wish before he died. Before we start, tell me the time and country you are watching from. I would be glad to know how far this story has gone. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Nia. She was 24 years old. Her skin was dark and smooth, like polished mahogany. Her eyes held more stories than her lips would ever tell. People in the mansion called her the quiet one, and most of them never even looked her in the face. She didn't mind. She liked it that way. Nia worked in one of the richest homes in New York City. It was a Grayson mansion, tall, cold, and filled with the kind of silence that made your shoes echo on the marble floor. It had 6 floors, 2 elevators, 10 bathrooms, and a staff so large they never bumped into each other. But Nia was different from the others. She didn't gossip in the kitchen. She didn't take extra breaks in the garden. She didn't flirt with the driver or scroll through her phone. She moved like a whisper. She cleaned in silence. And when she finished her shift, she went straight to her small room in the servants' quarters and shut the door. Nobody knew that behind her silence was grief. Her mother had died 2 years ago from cancer. And ever since then, Nia had been surviving, not living. She cleaned because it kept her busy. She mopped because it helped her forget. Every swipe of her cloth was like wiping away another memory she didn't want to feel. That morning, she was dusting the gold frames along the hallway when she saw something strange, a white envelope. It was sitting right on top of her cleaning cart. She paused. Her hands froze in the air. She looked left and right. No one was around. She picked it up slowly. The envelope was heavy. Her name was written on the front in soft gold letters. Nia. That alone made her heart skip. No one in the mansion called her by name. She looked again, unsure if it was a mistake, but there it was, plain and clear. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside was a short note. Come to the East Wing, room 301, 11 a.m. Come alone, TG. Nia blinked. The East Wing. That part of the mansion was off limits. Nobody went there. Not the cooks, not the cleaners. The door was always locked. Everyone said it was where Mr. Theodore Grayson, the billionaire himself, lived, but no one had seen him in years. He was 82 now. Rumors said he was sick. Some said he was half dead already. Some said he didn't speak. Some even said he was just a name on a will, not a man anymore. So why was he calling for her? Nia looked at the time. 10:43 a.m. She stared at the note again. Her heart thudded like it wanted to break out of her chest. Her hands were clammy. Her throat was dry. Should she go? She swallowed hard and pushed her cart aside. Slowly, like she was walking into a dream. She made her way to the East Wing. The hallway felt colder there. The lights were dimmer. The silence was louder. She stood in front of room 301 and lifted her hand to knock. Her knuckles froze midair. What if it was a test? What if she got fired? But something inside her whispered, "Go in." She knocked twice. A voice came from inside. "Weak, dry, come in." Nia opened the door. The room was wide and golden, curtains drawn, a soft smell of medicine, and old books hung in the air. There were shelves filled with pictures, but they were all face down. And in the center by the window sat a man in a wheelchair. He was thin, sharp-boned with gray hair combed back neatly. His eyes were the color of stone, cold, observant, alive. It was him, Mr. Theodore Grayson. He looked at her like he had known her forever. "Sit," he said. "She didn't move," he repeated. "Sit down, Nia." Her name rolled off his tongue like he had practiced saying it. She stepped forward slowly and sat on the chair across from him. "You've worked here for how long?" he asked. 3 years, she replied, her voice small. He nodded. 3 years. "And not once have you stolen or lied, or looked me in the eyes until now." Nia didn't know what to say. "I've watched you," he continued. "From the cameras, from the shadows, I've seen the way you work. Quiet, clean, like you're hiding from something." She looked down, embarrassed. He leaned forward slightly. "I'm dying, Nia." She looked up. He didn't blink. "Doctors gave me 6 months. That was 2 months ago." Nia's lips parted. but no words came out. "I don't need a maid," he said. "I need someone I can trust." Silence filled the room. Then he whispered, "Do you know why I chose you?" She shook her head. "Because you're invisible, and invisible people, they listen. They see things others miss, and they don't ask stupid questions." Nia sat up straight. "What do you want me to do?" He gave a dry laugh. "Good. You're brave. That I like that." Then he said something that made her skin crawl. "I want you to help me die, right?" The room went cold. "I want you to help me fix something before I leave this world," he said softly. "Something I ruined a long time ago." Nia's voice trembled. "Why me?" His eyes didn't leave hers. "Because I think you'll care." He reached his side and brought out a small wooden box. He placed it gently on the table between them. "Inside this box is the beginning of everything," he said. Then he looked at her one last time and said, "Come back tomorrow, same time. If you open that box, you'll see things you can't unsee. But if you choose not to open it, no one will blame you." Nia stared at the box. Her heart pounded. She didn't know what was inside, but something told her. Her life would never be the same again. She stood slowly, still staring at it. "I'll be here tomorrow," she said. Mr. Grayson smiled faintly. "Then your real job," he said, "starts now." The next morning, Nia stood in front of room 301 again. Her hands were shaking. She hadn't slept much. The box, his voice, that strange request, "Help me die," right? It all played again and again in her head. She had replayed their meeting 100 times. Why her? What did he mean by fixing something? What could a man like Mr. Theodore Grayson possibly regret? She wasn't sure she even wanted to know. But still, she came. She knocked once. "Come in," the voice said. She pushed the door open. Mr. Grayson was already awake, sitting in the same spot by the window, sunlight casting shadows across his wrinkled face. His fingers rested on the same wooden box. He looked at her, not surprised. "You came," he said. "Yes," Nia replied softly. "Good," he said, nodding once. "That means we can begin." She walked in and took the seat across from him. Mr. Grayson looked at her carefully, like he was trying to read her whole life through her face. "You're nervous," he said. "I don't know what this is," she admitted. "I'm not sure I'm the right person." "You are," he said without blinking. "You just don't know it yet." He opened the box. Inside was a small key, old and silver. It lay on a folded sheet of yellow paper. Nothing else. Nia stared. The old man reached into the box and took the key. Then he nodded toward the far end of the room. "You see that wall?" he said. "Behind that painting is a door." She turned to look. A large painting of a ship at sea hung near the bookshelf. She hadn't noticed it before. "There's a room behind it," he said. "No one else has been inside in 25 years. Not even the lawyers, not the nurses, only me." Nia looked back at him. "What's in there?" He smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "My past," he said. "All the parts one locked away." He handed her the key. "I want you to open it." She stood slowly. Her fingers closed around the key. Felt cold, heavy, important. She walked toward the painting. Her heart thumped loudly in her chest. She reached behind it and found a small metal lock built into the wall. The key fit perfectly. With a soft click, the door opened. Dust filled the air. The room behind it was small, dark. Bookshelves lined the walls, boxes, files, a desk, a leather chair covered in a white sheet, and in the middle of the room, an old table with a single glass frame on it. She stepped inside. Everything smelled like old paper and silence. "This used to be my study," Mr. Grayson said from behind her, "before I became the man the world knows." Nia looked around. "I stopped coming here when I started lying to myself." He added. She didn't speak. She just looked at the glass frame on the table. There was a photo inside. A young black woman holding a baby. The woman was smiling, but her eyes looked tired. The baby looked no more than a year old. "Who is she?" Nia asked quietly. The old man didn't answer right away. "She was someone I left behind." He finally said, "Her name was Elsie." He paused and added, "And that baby was mine." Nia turned to look at him, shocked. "You had a child?" she asked. He nodded once. A long time ago, before I was rich, before I became who I am now. Nia's chest tightened. Why are you showing me this? She asked. Because he said, wheeling himself closer to the doorway. Before I die, I want someone to know the truth. He looked at her serious. I want you to read everything in this room, he said. One letter every day in order. Don't skip. Don't change anything. Just read it to me. Nia didn't move. You could ask anyone to do this, she said quietly. I could, he replied, but I want you. Why? He leaned forward slightly. Because you remind me of her. Nia blinked. Your silence, your eyes, the way you carry pain like a secret. He said, Elsie was like that, too. She was strong but quiet, kind but tired. Nia felt her throat tighten. He nodded toward the desk. Open the top drawer. She did. Inside were stacks of envelopes numbered in red ink. Start with the 1 marked 1, he said. Sit, read it. She pulled out the envelope. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. The letter was written in neat handwriting. His handwriting. She began to read aloud. May 9th, 1961. My name is Theo. I'm 18. I live in Alabama. My father works in the mines. My mother cleans homes like yours. Today, I stole my first dollar. She paused and looked up. Mr. Grayson nodded. Keep going, she continued. I didn't mean to, but I saw it on the table and took it. I was hungry. I hadn't eaten in 2 days. My father drinks. My mother cries. The house is cold and small. I want to leave. I want to be more than what I was born into. Nia's voice grew soft as she read. That dollar made me feel powerful, but also ashamed. I wanted to give it back. I didn't. Instead, I used it to buy a loaf of bread. I shared it with Elsie. She didn't ask where I got it from. She just smiled. That was the first time I knew I loved her. Nia stopped. The room was quiet. Mr. Grayson was staring out the window. His eyes were far away, like he had traveled back in time. She was my first love, he said softly. We were poor, young, but we had each other. Nia folded the letter gently and placed it back in the envelope. He didn't speak for a while, just breathed. Then he said, You still want to do this? Nia looked at him. She could have said no. She could have stood up and walked away, but something inside her felt pulled as if the story was not just his, but hers too. Yes, she said. Good, he replied. And for the first time, his voice sounded a little lighter. Nia stood and looked around the secret study again. There were so many boxes, so many papers, so many years trapped inside a room nobody knew existed. You'll come every day, he asked. I will, she said. You won't tell anyone? I won't, he nodded. Then you may be the first person to really know me, he said. Nia glanced once more at the photo on the table. The woman in the picture looked so much like someone she used to know, her own mother. And that's when Nia realized something deep in her chest. This wasn't just a job anymore. It was something else, something bigger. She walked out of the study, locking the door gently behind her, the key still warm in her hand. She placed it back in the box and handed it to Mr. Grayson. He took it without a word. Before she left the room, he said, Nia? She turned. Thank you. She gave a small nod. Then she stepped out into the hallway, the coldness of the east wing wrapping around her once more. But this time it felt different, because now she wasn't just a maid who cleaned in silence. She was the keeper of a dying man's truth. And that truth was only just beginning. The third day came with thick gray clouds hanging low in the sky. It looked like rain was coming, but Nia didn't care. She walked faster than usual, her steps soft but sure, her heart beat heavy in her chest. But she didn't stop. Room 301 was waiting. She knocked gently. Come in. Mr. Grayson's voice called raspy and faint. She stepped inside. The room smelled like lemon oil and medicine. Mr. Grayson was in the same spot as before, sitting in his wheelchair by the window, a wool blanket over his legs. He turned his head when he heard her close the door. You came back, he said. I said I would, Nia replied, walking toward the desk. He watched her carefully. You didn't have to, he added. I know, she said, but I want to. A silence passed between them. A silence that didn't feel cold, felt honest. She walked over to the secret door behind the painting and unlocked it. The old key clicked again. The study was darker today. She switched on the small lamp beside the desk. Dust still hung in the corners, but the space already felt different, like it had been waiting to breathe again. She sat at the desk, opened the drawer, and pulled out envelope number 2. Mr. Grayson didn't say a word. He simply listened, his eyes half closed, hands folded. Nia opened the letter and began to read. July 4th, 1962. Elsie was the only good thing in my world. She had dreams, big ones. She wanted to be a teacher. She wanted to leave Alabama, leave the dirt roads, leave the fear. We talked about running away, but I knew I couldn't give her that life. Not yet. She paused and looked up. "Keep going," Mr. Grayson said. She nodded and continued. "I started working odd jobs, gas station construction sites, cleaning rich people's cars. I saved every penny. I stopped stealing. I wanted to earn something for once in my life." She looked at him again. His eyes were open, staring out the window now. But one night, Elsie told me she was pregnant. Nia's hands froze. Mr. Grayson closed his eyes that I was only 19. She was 18. We were just kids. But the moment she said it, something in me changed. I wasn't scared. I was alive. I promised her I'd take care of her and the baby. I swore it. I meant it. Nia folded the letter slowly. The room stayed quiet. She believed in me. Mr. Grayson said suddenly, breaking the silence. His voice was soft but heavy. Even when I didn't believe in myself. Nia nodded. "Sound like she loved you." "She did," he replied. "And I ruined everything." He looked at Nia now, eyes clear. "I want you to promise me something," he said. "What?" "That you won't judge me until you've heard it all." Nia didn't answer right away. She looked at the envelope in her hand. It didn't seem like just paper anymore. Felt like weight, years of it. I was only 19. She was 18. We were just kids. But the moment she said it, something in me changed. I wasn't scared. I was alive. I promised her I'd take care of her and the baby. I swore it. I meant it. Nia folded the letter slowly. The room stayed quiet. She believed in me. Mr. Grayson said suddenly, breaking the silence. His voice was soft but heavy. Even when I didn't believe in myself. Nia nodded. "Sound like she loved you." "She did," he replied. "And I ruined everything." He looked at Nia now, eyes clear. "I want you to promise me something," he said. "What?" "That you won't judge me until you've heard it all." Nia didn't answer right away. She looked at the envelope in her hand. It didn't seem like just paper anymore. Felt like weight, years of it. "I promise," she said. He nodded. "Good," he whispered, "because the worst parts are still coming." Nia placed the second letter back into the drawer. Her hands trembled slightly, but she tried to hide it. She stood and moved toward the table in the center of the room where the photo of Elsie and the baby still sat. "Did you ever hold the baby?" she asked without turning. "No," he said after a long pause. She turned to look at him. "Why?" "I wasn't there," he said, his voice barely audible. He was staring at the photo, too. "She gave birth while I was gone. I was in New York trying to get a job. I thought I had time. I thought I could come back with money. But when I came back, she was gone." Nia frowned. "Gone where?" "She left Alabama. No one knew where she went. She disappeared." Nia's chest felt tight. "I searched," he said. "For years, I hired people. I asked friends. I checked hospitals, schools. Nothing." He let out a bitter laugh. "She erased me. And maybe I deserved it. Do you think she hated you?" Nia asked quietly. He didn't answer right away. "I think I broke her heart," he said. "And people don't always recover from that." The room went still again. Then after a while he asked, "Do you believe people can change, Nia?" She looked at him. "Yes," she said. He studied her face. "Why?" "Because I did," she said. It was the first time she had said something personal. The first time her voice didn't sound like just a maid talking to her boss. Mr. Grayson leaned forward slightly. "What did you change from?" he asked. Nia hesitated. I was angry, she said, for a long time. Why? My mom worked herself to death, she replied. She cleaned homes like this one day and night for people who never even learned her name, and she still died in a small apartment with no money for proper medicine. Mr. Grayson said nothing. I hated rich people, Nia said. I still struggle with it sometimes. He closed his eyes and nodded slowly. That's fair. Nia walked back to her seat. But hate makes you tired, she said. And I got tired. Mr. Grayson opened his eyes and looked at her. I think we're more alike than I thought, he said. Maybe, Nia replied. But you had a choice. My mom didn't. He didn't argue. You're right, he said quietly. Another silence. Then he said, tomorrow's letter will be harder. Nia nodded. I'll be here. As she stood to leave, he said, Nia. She turned back. If anything happens to me before I finish the story, promise me you'll finish it anyway. Her eyes locked on his. I'll finish it, she said. Even if I have to read it alone. Mr. Grayson smiled faintly. That's all I wanted. She left the room slowly, the sound of the door closing behind her like a soft goodbye. Outside, the rain had started falling. It tapped gently on the mansion windows as if the sky itself was crying for a past too heavy to carry. But Nia walked to the quiet halls with something new inside her. Promise, purpose, and the beginning of a truth she couldn't unhear. The next morning, Nia arrived before the clock struck 11. She had never been early before, but something in her chest felt restless, like the letters were calling her back. The house was still and quiet, the kind of quiet that made every footstep sound too loud. When she reached the east wing, she paused for a second, took a deep breath, then knocked softly. The door opened almost immediately. Come in, Mr. Grayson said. His voice sounded weaker that morning. He had an oxygen tube now resting under his nose, and his hands trembled slightly as he held a cup of tea. But when he saw her, something in his eyes softened. You're early, he said. I couldn't sleep, Nia replied. He smiled faintly. Neither could I. Nia looked at the small wooden box on the table. It was open again, waiting for her. The silver key sat beside it, and beside the key, the next envelope marked with a red 3. She knew what she had to do. Without being told, she walked to the hidden study, switched on the lamp, and sat at the desk. The smell of old paper filled the air again. It no longer scared her. Felt familiar now, like stepping into someone's memory. She opened the third envelope and began to read. March 10th, 1964. Elsie left without saying goodbye. I came back from New York with a few dollars and a suitcase full of plans. But she was gone. No note, no address, just gone. I searched every street, every name I could find. For months I walked with hope, but hope became anger. Mr. Grayson leaned back slowly, eyes half closed. Nia continued, I told myself she betrayed me, that she didn't want me. I tried to bury the pain by working harder. I built a small business fixing engines. Then it grew. I opened a factory. I started making money. But the more money I made, the emptier I felt. I stopped looking for her. I stopped believing she existed at all. Nia looked up. The old man's hands were shaking now. She could tell his mind was far away in a time when he was still young, still angry, still chasing what he lost. Why did you stop searching? She asked quietly. He opened his eyes and looked at her. Because I thought love was weakness, he said. I thought pain made me stronger. I was wrong. Nia nodded slowly. She looked at the photo of Elsie again. The woman's eyes were kind, even in the old picture. It was hard to imagine anyone leaving her behind. Read the next part, he said softly. Nia turned back to the letter. 10 years passed. I became rich, powerful. I wore suits that didn't fit my heart. I bought houses that didn't feel like home. Then one night, I saw her name again. Nia's eyes widened a little. She looked up. He saw her again. Mr. Grayson nodded slightly. Keep reading. I was in Chicago for a business meeting. I saw a file on my desk with the name Elsie Monroe on it. It was a request for funding, a small community school. I knew it had to be her. My hands shook when I held the paper. I wanted to call her to see her, but I didn't. Nia's voice grew quieter. Why didn't you? She asked. Even before finishing the letter, he didn't answer. His eyes stayed on the window. Nia continued reading. I told myself I was too proud, that if she wanted to see me, she would come, but she didn't. The school burned down 2 years later. The report said no survivors. Nia stopped. Her breath caught in her throat. The letter slipped slightly from her hand. She died, she whispered. Mr. Grayson's voice cracked. That's what they told me. He closed his eyes, his face tight. I went to the site, he said. The building was gone. Just ash. And I stood there like a fool, realizing I had waited too long. She was gone, and I never said sorry. Nia looked at him, her chest tightening. For a second, she saw not a billionaire, not a man with servants and secrets, but a human being carrying a lifetime of guilt. You loved her, she said quietly. He nodded more than anyone. But I didn't know how to love her, right? The silence that followed was heavy. It filled the room, pushing against the walls. Even the sound of the rain outside felt distant. After a moment, Mr. Grayson said, Open the drawer again. Nia did. Inside was another envelope, but this one was smaller, sealed differently. She hesitated. Go on, he said. It's not another letter. It's a photo. She opened it carefully. It was a black and white picture of a little boy, maybe 5 or 6 years old. His smile was small and uncertain. His hair was curly, his eyes dark. Who is this? Nia asked. He took a deep breath. My son, he said. Nia's heart sank. I thought he died with her. He continued. But years later, I learned something else. What? He stared straight ahead. He's alive. Nia's breath caught again. Alive. He nodded slowly. Someone told me a child was pulled from the fire. No records, no name, but I know it was him. I can feel it. Nia looked at the photo again. The boy's eyes were filled with life. Do you know where he is now? She asked. No, he said. I lost the trail years ago. But before I die, I need to find him. Nia sat back, stunned. Everything suddenly made sense. The letters, the secret room, the locked memories. This is what you meant, she said. When you said you wanted to die, right? He nodded. I want to see him, he said softly. Just once. Before I go, his voice trembled. I want to tell him I'm sorry, even if he hates me. Nia looked at him for the first time. She saw tears forming in his eyes. They didn't fall, but they were there, glistening under the dim light, like pieces of his broken past. I'll help you, she said without thinking. He turned his head sharply. What? I'll help you find him, she repeated. He stared at her speechless. Why would you do that? He asked after a long pause. Because, she said slowly, no one deserves to die without peace. Mr. Grayson's lips quivered, but he didn't speak. His hands tightened on the armrest of his wheelchair. His breathing grew uneven. Nia moved closer. Are you okay? He nodded weakly. Just tired. These memories, they take more energy than walking ever did. Nia gently adjusted the blanket on his legs. You should rest, she said. Not yet, he whispered. There's one more thing. She stopped and looked at him. Go to the shelf in the corner, he said. There's a brown folder with my name on it. Bring it. She found it easily. It was the only folder not covered in dust. Inside were several letters, all unopened, all addressed to Theodore Grayson. The handwriting was familiar, soft, neat, and female. Nia looked at him. These are from her? Yes, he said quietly. I never opened them. Her eyes widened. Why? Because I was afraid, he whispered. Afraid of what she might have said. Afraid of seeing how much she hated me. But I can't die not knowing anymore. He motioned to her. Open the first one, he said. She did. Her hands shook as she unfolded the paper and began to read aloud. Theo, I don't know if you'll ever read this. I left because I had to. You were chasing something I couldn't understand. You wanted the world. I only wanted you when you come back and see we're gone. Please don't hate me. I did what I thought was best for our son. His name is Samuel. He looks just like you. Nia's voice trembled. Mr. Grayson turned his face away, covering his eyes with his hand. Samuel, he whispered. She named him Samuel. Nia stopped reading. "Keep going," he said through the pain. She did. "If you ever find this, promise me you'll be kind to yourself. You are not your father. Theo, you can be better. You just have to stop running from love." Nia folded the letter gently and looked at him. He was crying now. Silently, she didn't say anything. She didn't need to. The sound of his slow breathing filled the room, mixed with the rain still tapping against the window. Finally, he spoke again. "She forgave me," he said, voice breaking. "Yes," Nia said softly. "She did." He took a deep, shaking breath. "Then maybe my son can too." Nia reached out and placed a letter back in the folder. She turned to him and said, "We'll find him. I promise." He looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "I believe you," he said. The room fell quiet again, the kind of quiet that carries meaning. As Nia stood to leave, he whispered, "Nia, thank you." She smiled faintly. "You don't need to thank me." "Yes, I do," he said, "because for the first time in 60 years, I don't feel alone." She froze for a second, then smiled gently. "You're not." And with that, she walked out of the room, the soft glow of the lamp behind her fading as the door closed. In her hand, she still held the name Samuel. It echoed in her mind as she walked down the long, empty hallway. She didn't know it yet, but that name would soon change both their lives forever. The next morning, Nia didn't walk to the mansion like a maid anymore. She moved like someone who had been trusted with something fragile, something deep. She still wore her uniform. She still carried her quietness. But inside, everything had shifted as she turned the corner toward the east wing. She saw someone coming out of room 301. It was a nurse, thin, sharpied, with a folder clutched to her chest. She closed the door softly and didn't notice Nia until they nearly collided. "Oh, you're early," the nurse said, raising an eyebrow. "I'm always early," Nia replied, stepping aside. The nurse gave a short nod and walked off, heels tapping down the marble floor. Nia waited for the sound to fade before she knocked. "Come in," came the weak voice. She stepped inside. Mr. Grayson was not in his usual spot. He wasn't by the window. He wasn't in the wheelchair. He was in a hospital bed that had been rolled into the room overnight. His body looked smaller now, his skin paler. There were more tubes, more beeping machines. But his eyes, they were the same, sharp, watching. "You're here," he said softly. "Yes," Nia answered, walking closer. "I moved," he said. "Didn't want to. They said it's safer now. Easier to rest. But I don't want to rest. I want to finish." "You will," she said. "We're almost there." He reached out and pointed. "The box. It's still there." "Yes." "The key. Right beside it." "Then let's go." She walked to the study door, unlocked it, and stepped into the little room that now felt like another world. The air smelled of old paper, softwood, and fading time. The photo of Elsie and the boy was still on the table. The brown folder was still beside the lamp. She picked out the next letter, envelope number 4. She sat in her usual place, unfolded it, and began to read. July 2nd, 1980. I can still hear her voice. I try to forget it, but I can't. I hear in the quiet in my dreams. Sometimes when I walk through a crowd, I think I see her, but when I look again, it's no one. I'm married now. Her name is Evelyn. She's kind, cold but kind. She says, I live in the past. She's right. I don't love her. I never could. Nia stopped. She looked over her shoulder. Mr. Grayson's eyes were closed. He wasn't asleep. He was listening. Nia kept going. We adopted a child. It didn't work. I didn't know how to love him. He left when he turned 18 and never came back. He said I was distant. He said I didn't see him. He was right. I can't forget the one I lost. I can't stop wondering if my real son is out there walking, breathing, living without me. Nia's voice began to shake. She paused. Mr. Grayson opened his eyes and stared at the ceiling. I was a coward, he said. Nia looked at him, her hands tightening on the letter. I could have tried harder. I could have looked for him again. I had money. I had power. But I just let it go. Why? She asked softly. Because Every time I thought of him, I saw myself. He said, not the rich me, the boy me, the hungry, angry, broken me, and I hated him for making me feel that again. Nia stood and walked over. You didn't hate him, she said. No, he whispered. I hated myself. He turned his face away. I had everything, Nia, planes, cars, staff, a whole empire. But I'd give it all away just to sit in a quiet room with that boy and hear him call me dad once. A tear slid down his cheek. Nia froze. She had never seen him cry before. Not when he spoke of the fire. Not when she read Elsie's letter. Not even when he whispered his son's name. But now he cried one tear, then another, then more. And suddenly this old man, the one the world feared, the one with a tower full of lawyers and guards, was breaking in front of her. I ruined everything, he said. Nia stepped closer, her eyes soft. You're still trying, she said gently. That means something. He shook his head. Trying doesn't undo what I did. Trying doesn't raise the dead. Trying doesn't fix a broken boy who spent his whole life thinking his father didn't want him. But you do, Nia said, his eyes locked onto hers. You want him? He nodded slowly. Yes, I want him. Then let's find him. He was quiet. Nia sat down beside the bed. Tell me everything, she said. Every clue, every trail, every name. We'll start again. He looked at her like she was giving him a second chance at life. There was a nurse, he said, after the fire. She worked at the shelter that took in survivors. I think she knew where the boy went. What's her name? Gloria Hart. Where is she now? I don't know, he said. She moved, disappeared. My team gave up years ago. I won't, Nia said. He looked at her, his voice barely a whisper now. You would really do this for me? Yes, she said. Why? She thought about it. Then she answered slowly, honestly, because maybe I can't save my mother, but I can help you find your son. Maybe that's how I heal. He stared at her. A full minute passed. Then he said, you remind me of her. Nia smiled. You've said that before. No, he said. Not Elsie. She frowned. He pointed toward the drawer. There's another photo, he said, in the brown envelope. Take it. She opened the drawer. Inside was a thin brown envelope. She pulled it out, opened it, and found a photo of a young girl in her early 20s. Black, soft eyes, serious face, long braids. Her name was Ruth. Mr. Grayson said she worked here long ago. Nia turned the photo over. Written on the back in faded ink were the words, Ruth, 1997. She stayed with me when I had my second heart attack. He said she cleaned, cooked, but she also listened, and she never asked for anything. Nia stared at the photo. She had a daughter, he said. Nia's hand tightened. She was quiet like you, smart, full of questions. Nia turned her face slowly toward him. What was her daughter's name? He blinked slowly. I don't remember, he said, but she used to sit in the corner and read while her mom worked. Nia's heart started pounding. My mother's name was Ruth, she whispered. He stared at her. She worked in a big house in the nines. Said it was the only place she ever felt respected. He didn't speak. She told me. Nia continued. About a rich man who gave her a winter coat when she was sick and how that coat saved her life. Mr. Grayson's lips parted. She never told me his name, but she cried the day she left. I asked her why. She said, because sometimes even the coldest people carry the warmest regrets. Mr. Grayson's hand covered his mouth. You're her daughter, he whispered. Nia nodded, eyes glassy. They sat in silence. No more letters were read that day because the truth had already spoken louder than any paper ever could. The room was still. Nia sat across from Mr. Grayson, her hands resting quietly in her lap. The photo of her mother, young, braided, soft-eyed, sat on the table between them. Neither of them spoke for a long time. Outside, the rain had stopped, but inside, something else had just begun. You're Ruth's daughter, Mr. Grayson said again, more to himself than to her. Nia nodded slowly. Yes. He blinked slowly, taking it in. All this time, I didn't know either. She said she died before I started working here. She never told me your name. Only stories. Stories about a house with gold floors and a man with sad eyes. He chuckled softly, but was dry and shaky. That sounds like me. She said you helped her once when she was sick. Gave her a coat. Paid her rent. You didn't even speak much. You just did it. I remembered her, he said. She was quiet, but her eyes, they understood pain. She saw through everything. She reminded me of Elsie. Now he looked at Nia again. So, do you? They sat in silence again. This time not heavy silence. It was soft shared. She used to say, Nia whispered, not all rich men are cold. Some are just lonely and don't know how to be kind. He stared at her. She said that. Nia nodded. He let out a long breath. Then he reached for the box on his table. The same small wooden box where the key always rested. But this time he didn't take out the key. He pulled out a thin black envelope. I was going to give this to you later, he said, but now feels right. She took it slowly, opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper, an address, a photo, a name. Nia stared at it. Who is this? She asked. That, he said, is the man I believe is my son. Her breath caught. He lives under a different name now. Mr. Grayson continued. He changed it after the fire. I don't know if he knows who he really is, but I've been watching him for years. Why didn't you go to him? She asked. Because I was afraid, he said. Afraid he'd reject me. That he'd spit in my face. I didn't want to face my own shame. He swallowed. But now I don't care about shame. I just want him to know the truth before I leave. Nia looked at the address again. It was somewhere in Brooklyn, a quiet part of town. Not far, not close, just enough distance to make it feel like another world. He's a music teacher, Mr. Grayson said. Works with kids. Lives alone, never married, no kids. What name does he use? Daniel Ree. Nia blinked. So his name isn't Samuel. It is, Mr. Grayson said. But he doesn't know that. He was adopted by a woman named Margaret Ree. She passed away 10 years ago. He kept her name. Nia stared at the photo. The man in the picture was maybe in his 40s, tall, brown-skinned. He had a gentle smile, but his eyes looked like they were hiding something. There was something familiar about the curve of his jaw, the shape of his ears. He looked like someone carrying a story he hadn't finished telling. This is your final wish, Nia said quietly. He nodded. Yes. She looked up at him. You wanted to find him? Yes. Bring him here. If he'll come, Mr. Grayson said. But if he won't, then I just want you to tell him. Tell him what? Mr. Grayson's voice broke. Tell him I never stopped loving him. Nia blinked quickly, pushing back the burn in her chest. I will, she said. I promise. He reached out and placed something in her hand. It was the key. Keep this, he said. It opens the study. Everything you need is in there. Letters, records, photos, birth certificates in case he asks for proof. Nia tightened her fingers around the key. When do you want me to go? As soon as you're ready, he whispered. Time is not on our side. She nodded. I'll go tomorrow. He looked at her, his eyes shining. You're braver than most people I've known. I don't feel brave, she said. He smiled gently. That's what makes you brave. She stood. I'll come early tomorrow. She said. No, he replied. Take the day. Use it. Find him. Bring him here. Nia hesitated. What if he slams the door in my face? Then knock again, he said. What if he says no? Then tell him it's not forever. Just one visit, one man, one truth. She nodded, heart pounding. I don't know what to say to him. Say what you feel, he said. That's more than I ever could. Nia looked down at the photo once more, then at the name. Daniel Reese. She tucked the photo into her bag and turned back to him. He looked tired. His eyes were closing. His chest rose slowly under the covers. Mr. Grayson. He opened his eyes again. What if I can't find him? He smiled weakly. Then at least I'll die knowing someone tried. Nia walked to the door and paused. Good night, she said. He whispered something she hadn't heard from him before. God bless you. She left the room with the key, the address, and the final wish of a man who had once lost everything and was now hoping to find one piece before the end. The hallway felt different as she walked down it, like something bigger was waiting just ahead. Nia didn't sleep that night. She lay in her small bed, staring at the ceiling, her heart pounding with thoughts that wouldn't let her rest. The name, the face, the final wish of a dying man. She kept hearing Mr. Grayson's voice again and again. Tell him I never stopped loving him. She looked at the photograph again in the dim light. The man called Daniel Rhee. His eyes looked unsure, like someone who built a quiet life but still carried pain. Something about those eyes made her feel like he already knew he didn't belong in the world he was in, but he'd gotten used to pretending. Morning came too quickly. The sky outside was pale gray. The city felt tired, like it hadn't slept either. Nia wore plain clothes, jeans, a gray sweater, and her hair tied back tight. She looked in the mirror one last time, then slid the photo and a dress into her bag. By 8:20 a.m., she was on the train headed to Brooklyn. She kept glancing at the address, 237 Brillick Street, apartment 3B, Brooklyn. She didn't know what she would say. How do you tell a man that the father he's hated all his life is still alive and wants to see him before he dies? She gripped her bag tighter. When she finally reached the building, it didn't look like much. A 3-story walk-up with old red bricks and rusty railings. The kind of place where stories are buried under laundry lines and cracked sidewalks. She stood at the entrance for a long time, staring at the faded numbers above the door. 237 felt heavy. She finally climbed the stairs, her heart racing faster with each step. When she reached apartment 3B, she stood still. The hallway smelled like old wood and something fried. There was music coming faintly through the walls. Kids laughing in the distance. The real world going on as usual, not knowing that inside this moment, a life might change forever. She raised her hand, knocked once, twice. No answer. She knocked again. Then the door opened. A man stood there. The same man from the photo. A little older now, a little tired. He wore a black t-shirt and jeans. His hands had chalk on them. Music teacher maybe, but his eyes, those eyes were the same. He looked at her with confusion. "Can I help you?" he asked. Nia froze. Are you Daniel Rhee?" she asked, trying to sound steady. "Yeah," he said slowly. "Who's asking?" "My name is Nia," she said. "I work at Grayson Manor." His eyes narrowed. "Grayson, the billionaire." She nodded. "Yes, I've been taking care of him." Daniel leaned slightly against the doorframe. "What does that have to do with me?" She swallowed. "Can I talk to you just for 5 minutes?" He hesitated. "I don't sell anything," she added quickly. "I'm not here to bother you. I have something important to tell you." He looked at her like he didn't trust anyone. Then he finally stepped back and opened the door wider. "Fine. 5 minutes." She stepped inside. The apartment was simple. Small couch, bookshelves, piano by the window, photos of kids, students maybe hung on the wall. No family pictures, no parents, no wife. He motioned for her to sit. She did. He stayed standing, arms crossed. So he asked, "What is it?" Nia opened her bag, pulled out the photo. She placed it on the table between them. Daniel looked at it. His face changed. "That's where did you get this?" "It's yours," Nia said. "Your real one?" "What do you mean real one?" he asked, voice rising. She took a deep breath. "The man you know is Theodore Grayson. He's your father." Daniel's whole body tensed. "What?" "Your birth name is Samuel Monroe. Your mother was Elsie Monroe. You were born in Alabama. After the fire, you were adopted. You took the name Daniel Rhee." Daniel took a step back. No, I don't. This is crazy. You don't even know me." "I didn't," Nia said. "But I do now. And so does he." He stared at the photo again. "He's dying, Daniel," she said quietly. "He doesn't have long." Daniel turned away, rubbing his face. "He never looked for me," he said. "He did," she replied. "He just didn't know how. He had the money, but not the courage." Daniel gave a short, bitter laugh. "That sounds convenient." Nia stood. "Look, I'm not here to beg, but I've been reading letters. Letters he wrote before the world called him a billionaire. Letters about you, about your mother, about how he lost you, about how he never forgave himself." He didn't speak. "I know he's done terrible things," Nia said, "but he's trying to make it right. I've seen him cry. I've seen him hold your picture like it's the only thing keeping him alive. Daniel turned around. His face was tight. He left her to die. No, Nia said gently. She left because she thought he would never come back. And maybe she was right, but she never hated him. She wrote letters to him, told him to be kind to himself, told him he looked just like him. Daniel sat down slowly. He buried his face in his hands. Why now? He asked. Why after all this time? Because it's not too late, Nia said. But soon it will be. Silence. Then Daniel whispered. What would I even say to him? Anything, Nia said. Or nothing. Just come sit with him. Let him see you once. Daniel lifted his head. Does he know I might say no? Yes, she said. But he's hoping you won't. He looked at her. Something in his face broke. Give me an hour, he said. I'll come. Nia nodded slowly. I'll wait downstairs. She stepped out, her heart pounding. An hour later, they were in a taxi headed back to Grayson Manor. Daniel didn't speak much. He stared out the window. Nia sat beside him, hands clasped tight. When they arrived, she led him through the silent hallways. They reached room 301. She knocked, no answer. She pushed the door open. Mr. Grayson was awake. Barely. Tubes in his nose, eyes half closed. But when he saw Daniel, he tried to sit up. Nia rushed to his side. Easy, she said. He's here. Daniel stepped forward slowly. Mr. Grayson looked at him like he was seeing a ghost. Samuel, he whispered. Daniel didn't reply. Mr. Grayson reached out a trembling hand. I thought I'd never see you. Daniel stood still, eyes wide. I don't know what to say, he said. You don't have to say anything. Mr. Grayson whispered. Just let me look at you. Just let me feel like I did one thing right. Daniel stepped closer. He took his father's hand. It was cold, fragile, but it was real. I should have come sooner, Mr. Grayson said, voice cracking. I should have tried harder. Daniel's eyes were wet now. I don't remember you, he said. I know, Mr. Grayson said, but I remember you. Nia stood in the corner, quiet, watching. Two hands, one old and shaking, one young and tense, held each other. And in that moment, years of pain were not erased, but they were seen. They were shared. I'm sorry, Mr. Grayson said again. Daniel nodded slowly. I know. He sat beside him. And for the first time in his life, Samuel Monroe sat next to his father. Not Daniel Rhee, not a stranger, but a son. Nia stepped out into the hallway and closed the door. Tears streamed down her face, but they weren't sad tears. They were something else, something that felt like peace. The next morning came slower than usual. The mansion was quiet, too quiet. Even the air felt heavy, like the house itself knew something was about to end. The nurses moved softly through the hallways. The lights were dim. The air smelled faintly of medicine and flowers. Nia stood by the window of the east wing, her eyes tired but steady. She hadn't slept all night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the image of Mr. Grayson and Daniel holding hands for the first time. That moment, the silence, the shaking hands, the tears. It replayed in her mind like a movie that refused to stop. When she finally turned toward the door, she saw Daniel standing there. He looked different. There was something softer in his face now, something broken but healing. Is he awake? He asked. Nia nodded. He's been asking for you. Daniel walked in quietly. The sound of his shoes on the marble floor was the only thing breaking the silence. Nia followed behind him, clutching the small folder that held the letters, the ones Mr. Grayson had asked her to keep safe. When they entered the room, Mr. Grayson was sitting up slightly. The morning light fell across his face, making the wrinkles on his skin look deeper, older, but peaceful. He turned his head slowly and smiled when he saw them. You came back, he said weakly. Daniel moved closer. I said I would. Mr. Grayson's smile trembled. I wasn't sure. I've learned not to expect forgiveness. Daniel sat by his bed. I didn't come to forgive you, he said quietly. I came to understand you. Mr. Grayson's eyes glistened. That's more than I deserve. Nia stood near the window watching. She didn't speak. She didn't move. She just listened as father and son sat in the stillness of truth. For a long time, they said nothing. Then Daniel broke the silence. "You know," he said softly, "I used to imagine what you looked like. I thought maybe you were tall, strong, maybe cruel. I used to dream of meeting you just to tell you how much I hated you." Mr. Grayson closed his eyes. "You would have been right to hate me." Daniel's voice cracked. "But when I saw you yesterday, I didn't see the man I imagined. I saw someone who's been punishing himself for a lifetime." "I have," Mr. Grayson whispered. "Every day." Daniel took a deep breath. "Then stop now." Mr. Grayson's eyes opened again slowly. "I don't know how." Daniel reached out and placed his hand on his father's. "Then I'll help you." Nia blinked back tears. Mr. Grayson stared at their joined hands. "You have her eyes," he said softly. Daniel nodded. "That's what they tell me." "She would be proud of you," Mr. Grayson said. "She always believed you'd grow into a man who'd make people better." "I teach music," Daniel said. "Kids who don't believe in themselves." "Maybe that's something." Mr. Grayson smiled weakly. "It's everything." His breathing grew slower. His words came softer now, like whispers caught between worlds. "I wrote you a letter," he said. "It's in the drawer beside you. Read it after I'm gone." Daniel shook his head. "Don't say that. It's time," Mr. Grayson said. "We both know it." Nia stepped forward quietly, her voice steady. "Do you want to call the doctor?" He shook his head. "No, just stay." Nia nodded and sat down on the chair beside him. For a moment, no one spoke. The room felt sacred, like the air was holding its breath. Mr. Grayson turned to Nia. "You kept your promise." She smiled faintly. "You made it easy to keep." He shook his head slowly. "No, I made it hard. You just didn't give up." She swallowed. "You're not the only one who wanted peace." He looked at her for a long time, his eyes soft, almost fatherly. "Your mother will be proud of you," he said. Nia's lips trembled. "You really think so?" "I know so," he said. "You did what I couldn't. You gave love even when life gave you pain." She looked down, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. "Take care of him," Mr. Grayson said, turning back to Daniel. Daniel's voice shook. "I will. Promise me," he whispered. "I promise." Mr. Grayson smiled. Then, slowly, he reached for something under his pillow. It was a small metal key, different from the one Nia already had. He placed it in Daniel's hand. "There's a safe behind the bookshelf in the study. Inside, you'll find what I wanted you to have." Daniel frowned. "I don't want your money." "It's not money," Mr. Grayson said softly. "It's memories, letters, your mother's things. I kept them all. I couldn't look at them, but I couldn't throw them away either." Daniel's hand trembled as he closed his fingers over the key. "Thank you," he whispered. Mr. Grayson nodded weakly. The nurse stepped in quietly, checked the monitors, then stepped back without saying a word. Everyone in the room knew what was coming. Mr. Grayson's breathing grew slower, his voice faint. "Do you believe in heaven?" he asked suddenly. Daniel looked at him. "I didn't. And now?" Daniel swallowed. "Maybe I do." Mr. Grayson smiled faintly. "Good. Because I need to believe I'll see her again." He turned to Nia one last time. "Thank you for helping me go home," he said. She nodded, tears falling freely now. "Rest?" she whispered. He looked at Daniel again. "I'm proud of you, son." Daniel's jaw tightened. "I love you." Mr. Grayson's lips moved, but no sound came. His hand loosened. The monitor beside him let out a long, steady tone. Nia stood frozen. Daniel gripped his father's hand and lowered his head. The nurse stepped forward quietly, checked a pulse, then covered Mr. Grayson gently with the sheet. The room was filled with silence, but it wasn't empty. It was full of memory of love, of peace. Later that day, the lawyer came. They gathered in the study, the same hidden room that had started everything. The smell of old paper still lingered. The photos still sat on the table. The wooden box was now closed for good. Daniel sat in silence. Nia beside him. The lawyer read from a folder. Mr. Theodore Grayson's, who was updated 2 weeks ago. Daniel barely reacted. He wasn't here for inheritance. He was still lost in the space his father had left behind. The lawyer continued, "The majority of his estate will go to charitable foundations under his son's direction. However, there is a personal note addressed to Miss Nia Thompson." Nia's head snapped up. "Me?" The lawyer handed her an envelope. She hesitated, then opened it. Inside was a short handwritten note in Mr. Grayson's familiar handwriting. "Nia, you came into my life as a maid and left as my second chance. You reminded me that kindness still exists in the quiet corners of this world. I wanted you to know that your mother's spirit lives in you. You gave me peace when I thought I'd never earn it. In the safe under the desk, there's a letter for you. Take it and take the scholarship fund I created in your name. Use it for whatever you dream of. Live your life fully. That's how you'll honor both her and me. With love, Theodore Grayson." Nia's hands shook as she read it. Daniel smiled softly. He really meant that. Nia nodded, tears filling her eyes again. He kept his word. The lawyer closed his file. That's all. When everyone left, Nia and Daniel stayed in the study alone. The afternoon light filled the room, golden and soft. Dust floated through the air like slow falling stars. Nia opened the safe. Inside was a small letter and a thin blue folder. The letter was short, simple. "Nia, if you ever doubt your worth, remember this. Love made you, not pain. Go and build the life your mother wanted for you. Don't let grief chain you. Through the way it chained me." Nia pressed it to her chest and closed her eyes. When she looked up, Daniel was standing by the window, the light falling across his face. "She really was right," Nia said quietly. "About what?" "That sometimes even the coldest people carry the warmest regrets." Daniel smiled. "And sometimes strangers become family." They stood there in silence for a long time. The mansion felt peaceful now. No whispers, no ghosts, just sunlight, letters, and the sound of life beginning again. Nia stepped out onto the balcony, looking over the wide garden. The same wind that once carried grief now felt light, almost forgiving. She looked up at the sky and whispered, "He made a home." Daniel joined her. "So, did you?" She smiled. For the first time in her life, Nia didn't feel like the quiet maid in the background of someone else's story. She felt seen. She felt alive. And as the wind blew softly through the golden trees, she finally understood what her mother meant when she used to say, "Kindness always finds its way."